Vegetation Mobile, quality e-learning experience on the go.
You are welcome back again to our geography class. This time we are going to look at the geography of Nigeria. And under this, there are things that we are going to consider. The geography of Nigeria. Number one, we are going to look at the location of Nigeria. Then number two, we are going to look at the political division. Number three, we are going to look at the size. Then number four, we are going to look at the position of Nigeria. Then number five, we look at the physical setting. Number six, we look at the population of Nigeria. Then number seven, we look at the vegetation. The vegetation of Nigeria. And finally, we look at the mineral resources of Nigeria. So I'm going to use this map to look at some of these. We are once again talking about the geography of Nigeria. Nigeria is our country, so we must know where Nigeria is, on the globe. Let's look at the location. Nigeria is located between latitude 4 degree and 14 degree north. Latitude 4 degree and 14 degree north, and longitude 3 degree and 15 degree east. Let me repeat myself. We are talking about the location. Nigeria is located between latitude 4 degree and 14 degree north, and longitude 3 degree and 15 degree east. So between latitude 4 degree and 14 degree north, and longitude 3 degree and 15 degree east is where Nigeria is located. Now, let's look at the size of Nigeria. Let me jump political division first. Let me look at the size of Nigeria. Nigeria is the 4th largest country in Africa, after Niger, after Mali, after Mauritania, before you come to Nigeria. We are talking about the landmass. That is the size. So Nigeria is the 4th largest country in Africa. We are not talking about population. We are talking about the landmass. That is the size. Then let's look at the position of Nigeria. Nigeria is centrally located in Africa and also in West Africa, bounded by the French-speaking countries. Towards the north, Nigeria is bounded by Republic of Niger. Towards the east, Nigeria is bounded by the Republic of Cameroon. Towards the west, bounded by Benin Republic, and towards the south by Atlantic Ocean. Let me come back again. We are talking about the position of Nigeria. Nigeria is centrally positioned in Africa and also in West Africa. Then when we talk about those countries that bounded Nigeria, Nigeria is bounded, by Francophone and Anglophone countries. But those that Nigeria have direct boundary with them, they are the French speaking, they are the Francophone countries. We talk about the east. The eastern part of Nigeria is bounded by the Republic of Cameroon. You know, the northern part of Nigeria is bounded by the Republic of Niger. Then at the western part of Nigeria is bounded by the Benin Republic. Then at the south by Atlantic Ocean. So that is the position. Now let's come back to political division. We are talking about political division. If you look at this, my map, it says the 36 states of Nigeria. Nigeria is divided into 36 states. Then 774 local government. We don't want to go into the history of how the states were created right from the time of independence. But what we want to base our argument now is this, that Nigeria has 774 local government and 36 states, including the federal capital. So with this, we have known the location of Nigeria. That is the longitudinal and the latitudinal location of Nigeria. We have seen the political division. And even to add to political division, Nigeria is further divided into 6 geopolitical regions. We have the northeast, we have the northwest, we have the north central, we have the south-south, we have the southeast, and we have the southwest. These 6 form the geopolitical regions, although not backed up by constitution anyway. But some of our politicians, they use it as their own means of campaign. But what we are saying is that in terms of political divisions, Nigeria has 36 states and 774 local government. Now, we talk about the size. Say Nigeria is the 4th largest country in terms of landmass. After Niger, Mauritania, Mali, then we have Nigeria. Then position. We say that Nigeria is bounded by the French-speaking countries. Here we have Niger, here we have Cameroon, here we have Benin, then here we have Atlantic Ocean. Now, let's look at the physical setting. The physical setting of Nigeria. When we are talking about the physical setting, we are talking about how the land, the Nigeria is divided into the lowland and the upland. If we talk about the lowland, we are looking at the relief or the physical relief of Nigeria. Remember, we are dealing with the geography of Nigeria. Under it, we have the location, the political division, the size, the position. Here we have. This map will tell us some of the relief. When we are talking about physical features, we are talking about mountains, we are talking about plateau, we are talking about plain in Nigeria. If you look at this, here we have this place. These are the elevated land that has a height of 800 meters above the sea level. And remember, when we're discussing mountains and plateau, we say that any place that has an elevation higher than or equal to 600 meters above the sea level, we regard that place as what? As a mountain. Now, in Nigeria, this area here we call the North Central Highland. We are discussing the physical features. Here we call the North Central Highland. Here we call the Western Highland. Here we call the Eastern Highland. Here we call the Eastern Scarpland. And there are hills. Here we have Udi Hill. Here we have Indare Hill. Here we have the Udi Hill extend to this place. Here we have the Jos Plateau and the Mambila Plateau and other plateaux that we have around this, the north central highland. We are discussing what? We are discussing the relief or the physical features. Also, we have a place that has a lowland below 200 meters and 300 meters. Where are these? We have here, we have this environment. These are the river basin, the River Niger and River Benue basin. These form the lowland. Then we have a place that has a height of 400 and 800 meters. We have places like the eastern part of the country and some places in the northern part of Nigeria, when you are getting close to the Brunu plain, very close to Lake Chad. Now, these are the physical setting of Nigeria. Then let's look at the population of Nigeria. According to 2006 population census, the population of Nigeria is estimated to about 140 million. 140 million. That is the population of Nigeria. Lagos and Kano, they have the highest population. But the population of Nigeria by this time must have, raised more than that 140 million, because from 2006 till this point is more than 10 years, and the law that guide the conduct of census is that census supposed to be conducted at the interval of every 10 years. So after 2006, another census supposed to have come up in 2016, but this is 2017. We don't know. So the population, we are using the population estimate given to us, although there is argument that the population of Nigeria is about 170. That one is non-justifiable, since we don't have a data to claim, to prove, to substantiate that our population is 170. Some even said 180. Is when the census is conducted that we can now know the actual population of Nigeria. But as it stands now, the population census conducted in 2006 is still viable, and that is what we are using today. So we go by the figure given to us by National Population Census in 2006, saying that the population of Nigeria is about 140 million. Then let's look at the vegetation of Nigeria. When we talk about the vegetation of Nigeria, we are now looking at how Nigeria is divided into different vegetation zones. Now this one, let me draw the map of Nigeria here. I'll sketch the map of Nigeria. I'll sketch. This is a sketch map of Nigeria. Here is River Niger. Here is River Benue. Remember, we are talking about the what? The vegetation of Nigeria. The vegetation of Nigeria is divided into, number one, we have the Sahel Savanna. Sahel Savanna. Let me clean it so that we can get it very well. Sahel Savanna. Then we have Sudan. we have montane vegetation. We have Guinea savanna. Then we have mangrove swamps, forest. Sahel, Sudan, montane vegetation, and at times we have a spot of what we call gallery forest in Nigeria. Then how do you classify this? Using the map of Nigeria. If you look at this extreme axis, that is where you have the trace of what? Of Sahel savanna, because this place has a boundary towards the Niger Republic, and Niger Republic is in the center of what? It's in the center of Sahel savanna. What are the characteristics of Sahel savanna? Number one, the place is characterized by dry soil. The soil is very dry. Number two, acute shortage of water, either surface or underground water. Number three, the is devoid of vegetation cover. Then after that, you come to here, Sudan. Sudan what? Sudan savanna. Here has a boundary with the Sahara Desert, so that is why we have Sahel. Then from here we have what we call montane vegetation. What we mean by montane vegetation is the type of vegetation that is found around a mountain, maybe ridges of mountain, as we have Cameroon Mountain, Atlantica Mountain, to Mambila Mountain. They are ridges of mountains. So you find a vegetation that, you know, form a kind of a cluster around this mountain. We call that type of vegetation montane vegetation. You can find around this place. Then around this environment you have what? We have Guinea savanna. Then there are some vegetation that may be found around water bodies. They do not extend, but you see them line up. That type of vegetation, we call it what? Gallery forest. It can be found along the major rivers that we have in Nigeria, like River Niger, River Benue, River Donga, and also River Kaduna. This river, we have a trace of gallery forest in Nigeria. Then we have mangrove. Mangrove is around this. Then finally we have freshwater swamps forest. So these are the type of vegetation that we have in Nigeria. Number one, we have Sahel savanna. This Sahel borders the Sahara Desert, where, you know, but because of the activities of man's activities against the environment, the desert encroachment is moving speedily inland into the country. So who knows, in the next 10 to 20 years, all the states around this may be totally engulfed with this Sahel savanna vegetation. Then we have Sudan, then we have Guinea savanna, we have mountain vegetation, we have mangrove forest, we have fresh water vegetation or forest, then we have gallery forest. This is the typical vegetation type that we have in Nigeria. Now, the question is, what are the uses of this vegetation? What are the importance of vegetation? As we said, number one, vegetation can be used once it is exploited. It can be used for timber, it can be used for construction, it can be used in manufacturing furniture and all that and all that. Also, we can forest resources can generate employment opportunity. It can also be exported, so it can earn foreign earning if it is properly harnessed. Some herbs can be tapped, processed for medicine, for medicinal purpose. Then, what do we use vegetation for again? Like what we discussed when we are looking at the problem that is confronting environment. Some of the problem like soil erosion, like soil erosion, it's as a result of what? Lack of vegetation cover. But where we have vegetation cover, it can mitigate or serve as a mitigating measure against what? Against soil erosion. So with this, we have discussed Nigeria, the position, the size, the location, the physical setting, and the population, and also the vegetation. Let's look at the mineral resources. Nigeria is endowed with a lot of minerals, with a lot of resources. Whether you talk about mineral resources, we talk about human resources, we talk about vegetational resources, all the type of resources you can think of, Nigeria is blessed with it. But let's look at one after the other. First, what is resources? Resources is anything that is buried underground, and when it is harnessed and added value, it can be of benefit to man. It can be of a benefit to man. Now, what are these resources in Nigeria? Number one, we have mineral resources. We have mineral resources. Number two, we have vegetation resources. Number three, we have water resources. Number four, we have human resources. Yes. So these are the resources that we have in Nigeria. Let's talk about mineral resources. Mineral resources, Nigeria is blessed. Almost every state has a mineral deposit. Almost every 36 states of the Federation. So, like when we talk about tin and columbite are found in Jos. We talk about petroleum. Petroleum are found along the Niger Delta axis. If you talk about coal are found in Enugu, they are found in Okaba, they are found in Nkalagu. Then we talk about limestone. Limestone are found in Benue, that is Boko. They are also found in Obajana in Kogi State. Then when we talk about iron ore, they are found in Itakpe in Delta State and also Ajokuta in Kogi State. So when we talk about mineral resources, Nigeria is endowed with it. We are discussing the mineral resources in Nigeria. Then what are the importance of or the role of mineral resources to Nigeria? Number one, it can improve standard of living. standard of living. When a mineral resources is harnessed, processed, it can lead to improvement in standard of living. Number 2, it can lead to development of infrastructure. Anywhere you have mineral deposit, before it can be tapped, the infrastructure, either road accessibility or even airport, rail, can be constructed to that site so that there will be accessibility to the mineral site. So it leads to development of what? Of infrastructure. Then, number 3, it also generates what? Employment. Employment generation. We are looking at importance of mineral resources. Number 4, it also encourages international trade. Whenever you have mineral that is being exported to another country. And number 5, it also encourages what? Foreign earning. And even as many as you can, it can even lead to industrialization. Whenever you discover a mineral that is of commercial quantities and is well harnessed, developed, it can lead to what? It can lead to all these improvements in standard of living, development of infrastructure, generation of employment, encourage what? International trade, and so on and so forth. But what are the problems facing mineral exploitation in Nigeria? There are many problems. Number one, inadequate funding. Inadequate. Let me clean it so that we are looking at the problem now facing mineral exploitation in Nigeria. Number 1, inadequate. Inadequate fund or funding, as you may call. Let me sound a note of warning here. Whenever you are looking in geography, whenever you are looking at the problem of something, don't use this word lack of. You don't use this word. This word lack of is outdated. Instead, you use inadequate or insufficient. That is, that thing you are looking at is there, but it's not enough. Now, number 2, we said inadequate manpower. Inadequate manpower. That is, the indigenous manpower to manage some of our mineral exploitation are not there. We don't have them. So most of our minerals, especially petroleum sector, are being dominated by the foreigners. Then, number 3, inadequate or insufficient electricity, power. Then, number 4, maybe government policy. All these are the problem that the mineral resources in Nigeria today, or mineral exploitation, is facing. Inadequate funding, inadequate manpower, the technical know-how, the indigenous technical know-how to manage some of our mineral sites, especially in petroleum sector, is not there. So most of these companies taking care of this petroleum exploration have been dominated by the whites and other foreigners. Then inadequate electricity. Most of the minerals exploration that is being carried out today are carried out manually because of what? The electricity is not there. Even when it is there, it is not enough. Then government policy at times, discourages those that have the intention to go into mining because of some of the bad government policies. Then we talk about vegetation resources. We have discussed the vegetation of Nigeria, not too long ago. We talk about the type of vegetation that we have and how this vegetation can be harnessed and how they can add to economic value. We have discussed that one, to some extent. Now, let's look at water resources. Water resources also, Nigeria is also blessed with water bodies in Nigeria. And when these resources are put into use, they can add value. How do water resources add value to Nigeria economy? Number one, we use water to generate electricity. That is hydroelectric power, HEP. Hydroelectric power. We have one in Shiroro in Niger State. Then another one is going on now in Mambila or Mambila Plateau in Taraba State, and others that there is one on River Kaduna. So this benefit is derived from what? From water resources. Number two, water resources can serve as a transportation network, either inland or ocean navigation, transportation. Then we look at domestic use of water. Number four, we talk about industrial. Number five, we look at agriculture. We use water to irrigate our crops. That is where we have inadequate rainfall to support. So these are the importance of the water resources that we have in Nigeria. Then, what are the problems of water resources that we have in Nigeria? What are the problems? Number one, some of Nigerian rivers are full of cataracts. And waterfalls. Therefore, it impedes the transportation system. Some of the water bodies in Nigeria are not navigable. So you cannot, navigate on the surface of many Nigerian water bodies. That is number one. Number two, some of the rivers have short distance. So, because of that, transportation on it is practically impossible. Then, during dry season, some of Nigerian rivers or water bodies, they dry up, so making the depth to be shallow. So the shallowness of Nigerian rivers during dry season at times is one of the problems. Then finally we look at the water widths on Nigerian rivers. Water widths like water hyacinth and other weeds that are present on the surface of Nigerian rivers. All these are the problems that the water resources in Nigeria, are facing. So, in summary, what we have discussed is, number one, we have discussed the resources in Nigeria, or the resources of Nigeria. And these resources of Nigeria, we look at the mineral resources, we look at the vegetation resources, we look at the water resources, we look at the human resources. Then, when we talk about the mineral resources, we look at the various minerals that we have in Nigeria, how they can contribute to the economic growth of Nigeria. Then, what are the problems that confront this full exploration of these mineral resources. We talk about vegetation, the same thing. We talk about water, the same thing. Even human resources. Nigeria also is endowed with human resources. The harnessing and making full utilization of these human resources also has adverse effect on some of the other resources that we have. When we do not have the human capacity development in Nigeria, who can be trained to man some of these resources, they become a waste. So these are the resources and their uses and their contribution that we have in Nigeria. With this, we have discussed the geography of Nigeria, the position, the size, the location, the physical setting, the population, and the mineral resources. This will now take us to another topic.